Hi, everybody. I'm Chuck, and this is my bride, Deb, and we have Bob from Ecuador, Mark from Oklahoma, and David from Japan. And tonight we're continuing to talk about this assessment that we call iron on iron. And we have a new verse for you tonight, Proverbs 27:23, and I'm going to bring that up. And Bob, if you could read that for us.
Proverbs 27:23 says, know well the condition of your flocks and pay attention to your herds.
All right. So how does this passage apply to ministry? It sounds like it fits more with Bob on the farm down there in Ecuador, looking over his cows. How does this relate to us?
Well, it's like advice for a pastor. It's advice for a pastor with herds, or it's an advice for someone who's leading people in a disciple-making movement, in that we need to have the kind of relationship and oversight that's taking care of the flock, that's watching over them, their spiritual health and their lives, as well as guiding them forward in the mission.
Good.
Yeah, so actually the rest of the passage is really interesting too. Just it talks about how even if your money fails, everything else falls apart. Like that's especially as a farmer, it's like the lives of the flock. That's what's going to sustain you. And so I think, yeah, it definitely relates to ministry in that it's easy to get caught up in whatever. There's 1,000 other things to get caught up in rather than the people. How are the people doing, and are they healthy? Are they not healthy? Are they well fed? And things like that. So I think and there's a similar passage. I can't think of it immediately in one of the Timothy letters, just that it kind of echoes the same sentiment. But yeah, we just need to take good care of our people, because that's what it boils down to.
I'll throw one final thought. I think I've liked this phrase over the years. You've got to inspect what you expect. And so if you really want to see a specific outcome, or you really are trying to get people to move towards a specific vision, it's pretty easy as a leader to live in the clouds, and you're in this big vision, you're up here and you think everybody's with you, and turns out not everybody's with you. So having that pulse on where things are allows you to inspect what you expect, so that you can see, is there alignment right now, or do we need to make some adjustments to get back in alignment?
Great. How about from a woman's perspective?
I was thinking about, this past year with all the COVID restrictions, how a lot of kids were doing at home, online school. And I've heard from several parents how shocked they were at what the kids were learning in school, because they just drop them off in the morning and pick them up in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of parents have changed the schooling, either homeschooling or some other, as a result of knowing the condition of their flocks. So yeah, I think if you just want to live in the clouds, like Mark said, and think everything's fine, it's not reality. No.
Yeah. Now, we've been using kind of metrics to assess how people are doing, the red, yellow, green metrics in different aspects. Mark, explain a little bit how this works.
So it's really helpful to be able to identify where people are at on different practices of church. So this is the church circle, the 12 practice church circle that we use in our networks here. And so this comes from Acts 2:36-47, and won't go through all of that right now, but you get those practices drawn out of that. And then what can be helpful, especially as you're wanting to raise up leaders that can multiply, I've found there's two main competencies that leader needs to have in place: the ability to assess where are we now, and then make a plan to go to wherever they want to take them. And so this tool is so helpful because it develops both of those skills practically. And the red, yellow, green meaning, is this practice, for example, the gospel, is it exist or non-existent? Is it healthy? And so red meaning non-existent, yellow, which Chuck's got there, means it's there but could use improvement, and then green means adequate for now or it's in place. So then having that disciple or leader fill out this and having their disciples fill this out then gives us the ability to know the condition of our flock, to use this passage, and be able to know where are we, so that we can make plans to go where we want to go, but then also to train up those leaders to do the same, because sometimes what can happen as leaders, it's intuitive to us, but to our leaders, it's not intuitive. So this gives them a way to flex that muscle and learn how that works.
Great. And now, how have the rest of you used this tool, and what are your thoughts?
Just getting started with it in our network, but I think primarily when you use it on yourself, you get an honest response for yourself, and you have to get really challenged on some of the areas that you could just be gliding by without somebody asking that question or you asking yourself that question. With for example, one of my key Timothy's, we did it for him, but then asked him, how do you see this for your church? We kind of got two. Personally, you're here, but where would you rate the church on these things? And then it was an opportunity to look for steps, both personally and steps to move the church forward in these areas. So I found it really helpful, and he got really excited about it.
I think it's interesting because you could take this a whole bunch of ways. There's kind of like the level 1 questions, yes or no, are you doing that? And then there's kind of a level 2 of, well, what does it mean to be green in baptism? What does it mean to be yellow in giving? What is it, and then there's the third level of, how, like the grandparenting questions, how are your people doing in these areas? It's kind of an interesting tool that you can use in a lot of different ways, but it's definitely a great conversation starter.
Mhm. Anything to add, David?
I don't think so. I think it's been said.
All right. Well, I remember doing an iron on iron down in Ecuador. Bob's going to laugh at this. And one of the guys was talking about his ministry, and it was so nebulous, so, pie in the sky. I said, you're kind of like a cloud. I can't grab onto anything that you're saying. And sometimes that's how we talk in our spirituality. There's no handles, there's no objective assessment. And when we're doing self-assessment, that's the best assessment if we're honest, because now, like Bob said, it tells us where we're really at. And like Deb said, it's not really about the tool, it's about the discussion that the tool initiates. So hope that's helpful. Hey, know well the condition of your flocks. And we'll see you next time. And until then, keep following Jesus.